Hi, you guys, welcome. We are talking air purifiers. So if you have any questions on air purification, please ask now. This is Mike. He is a wildfire expert, and he is the founder of Jaspr over here, this amazing, system or device that does the best air purification. Not only that, it's pretty sleek and sexy, and that's what caught my eye to begin with.
It matters.
Yes, it matters. So let's talk about the air purifiers that somebody would have at home, right? So they probably have some devices that they got from a Bed Bath & Beyond or maybe a Target or things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I know there's some consumers and the audience out there who have asked too. It's like, do you really have to spend a lot of money on air purifiers? Like what?
So you don't have to spend a lot of money, and the reason that we're kind of built different is because I wasn't trying to create like an air purifier. My background was in wildfire smoke and restoration and mold removal and floods. So what that means is I used to go into California or Alberta or British Columbia and restore homes after big wildfire smoke situations. And I saw how sick people were getting after wildfire smoke.
Sure.
And the machines that we were using for mold removal, floods, and fires were giant.
Huge, yeah.
Like photocopiers, like subwoofers, they were massive. They were super effective. They worked really, really good. However, the problem is they were really loud and really ugly. So it was disappointing that we would restore a home after wildfire smoke and then they would get recontaminated again. The smoke would come back in the house.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is reactive. How do we get more proactive? And I noticed that people would unplug these giant air purifiers we would leave in their house because they were so loud and so ugly.
Sure, sure.
So whether the noise pollution got to them or just the aesthetic, oh, cool.
Oh,
This is
that's
awesome.
great. Yeah. What are the benefits of air purifier for your rooms?
I'll go to that in a minute.
Okay.
So originally I was only trying to create an air purifier for wildfire smoke. I wasn't thinking about anything but, hey, when California has big fires and the West Coast is covered in smoke, we need a more effective solution that is ideally made out of steel, so it's high quality and it can last a long time, no off-gassing and plastic, and a cheap device that will only last a couple years.
Right.
It had to have the size, power, and performance like the things that we were using on commercial jobs. It had to be quiet. It had to be beautiful, so people would be proud to have it in their house. And it had to be smart, so it could be silent, but when it would detect the wildfire smoke, it would automatically kick on.
Right.
And then 2020, we're getting ready to launch, COVID times, so we ended up selling all to doctors and dentists, which was never part of the plan. And then patients started to find out about them from the dental office, and they had kids with asthma, horrible allergies, autoimmune stuff, sleep problems. They started to inquire about it. So we created it to be specifically a aesthetically pleasing, beautiful machine inspired by commercial air scrubbers for wildfire smoke. And now I never in a million years thought we would be focusing on allergies and sleep and wellness and like really optimizing health. It was not on our radar at all.
Right.
So like the big difference is size. And what I consider most small air purifiers, the best analogy I have is it's kind of like trying to heat a bathtub with a kettle. So a kettle is super effective at heating a cup of tea. It's awesome at heating water if the goal is just to make a cup of tea.
Right.
But if the goal is to heat your bathtub, it's too small. It doesn't get the job done.
Right.
You can't tow your boat with your golf cart. It's just too small of a vehicle.
Yes.
Sometimes size does matter.
Yeah.
So
it does.
we're approaching it from a different lens. So there's nothing inherently wrong with most small consumer air purifiers. The problem is the size. So where they're marketed for like 1,000 square feet or a large bedroom, and like air purifiers don't care what your square footage. They care about cubic volume, ceiling height, airflow, and everybody wants to oversimplify and say it covers 800 square feet or 1,000 square feet. It's like, by coverage, do you mean cleans the air 99% or 10%? They don't say that part.
Right. So now I know you were saying too that the size does matter. So, but is it also the rule that if it's bigger, then it's better, like hands down, or then quality plays a role too as well?
Yeah, it is actually. It is in terms of effectiveness. Yeah, because most air purifiers have a pretty good filter in them. Filters work quite well. A good analogy is: would you rather have 99% of $1 or 95% of $5. So
Sure.
airflow is what matters most.
Right.
It's just usually the big powerful ones are loud and ugly, and then you don't use them. So it's
Right.
it's like when Dyson came out with the first beautiful vacuum.
Right.
Like people didn't want these large, ugly vacuums all
Right.
over. So the aesthetic and the user experience is what made it accessible.
And they also had the fans too that are like more sleek too, right? You can have these like industrial big fans, and
Dwayne.
then that it's just like too much. But so yeah, so we're going to take some questions from the audience. So if you guys are just tuning in, I am here with Mike. He is the founder of Jaspr, and we're talking all things air quality.
Jack and Dwayne.
From somebody who's a wildfire expert and has developed this amazing air purifier. So these are some of the questions. Let's talk about it. Jack, what are the benefits of air purifiers for your rooms?
It's a good question. So it depends on the room. So feel free to ask about a particular room, Jack, and we can look at that in a deeper dive. However, the benefit, let's just look at the places that matter most. You know, we spend 95% of our time indoors, which is a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because that's way too much time to spend indoors. It's a blessing because we're really able to optimize and control that environment. We have very little impact over the outdoor air, but we really can control the environment inside. So
right. And so when we do have situations such as like recently Mexico had those wildfires.
Those weren't wildfires. That's agricultural burning.
Oh, that's right. Agricultural burning. Okay, so Mexico had that, right? And then the air quality in Austin was actually worse outside for weeks than it was and inside. And it's funny too because
that's your
had
air because you were
you.
filtering your air inside.
Right.
Most people's air was worse inside.
Right.
Because all the contaminants from the fires were coming in and they couldn't get back out.
Right.
It was trapped in their carpets, their furniture, their bedding, and it's still trapped in there. It hasn't gone anywhere.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, and I texted Mike and I was just like, I took a screenshot of the weather. I was like, air quality is poor, you know.
Not
I'm
inside,
like, not in my home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, after a big wildfire, if a good number of air quality is 5 out of 500 in particulates, when there's like a horrible wildfire smoke outside where like you can't see off your balcony, that's like 250 or 300.
Wow.
But people don't realize inside still usually 150 or 200.
Wow.
It's because there's something called nose blindness.
Okay.
You know, you never smell the campfire while you're making the s'mores. It's when you're in the shower, it's the next day, you don't smell, you don't realize you smell like smoke till you leave the campfire.
Right.
And then you're like, whoa, I stink like smoke.
Sure.
So let's make sure we answer Jack's question.
Yes.
So in the bedroom, sleep, that's a big deal. So for sleep, the average bedroom has about 800,000 particles floating around. This is like a heavy-duty commercial grade particulate counter. These are about $5,000. This is not something that's like a consumer product.
Oh, wow.
This is what I was using when I was doing air quality testing and consulting to measure people's air.
Okay.
What are those 800,000 particles?
Yes.
Dust, mold, pollen, pet dander, insect parts, your neighbor's drywall from that bathroom renovation they're doing, the rubber from the cars, from the tire. Where do you think the rubber goes? You don't see rubber on the road.
Sure.
It's in air, but you can smell rubber.
Wow.
You know when you smell your brakes or your tires? Yeah, you smell it because it's in the air. So bedroom is a big deal. Sleep performance. Anyone who tracks their sleep with Oura, Whoop, Fitbit, 8 Sleep, any of those fitness sleep trackers usually see a massive increase of the quality of their sleep.
Crazy. Well, yeah, I mean, you're there for 8 hours, and that's where you recover. That is where you regenerate. And so those are really quality and super important moments in your day.
And the only thing keeping you alive at night, it's not food, it's not water. I call air sleep fuel. It's the only thing that fuels our actual sleep.
Sure.
And I call sleep healing time.
Yes,
it's this
it is.
8 hours of our life where we go to heal.
Right.
And if we don't, why not optimize that? It's like the lowest hanging fruit possible.
Right.
So if you're in a home office environment, then the benefits are going to be, there's been so many studies, I won't quote certain ones, but if you just Google like air quality chess, air quality SAT scores, where like grandmasters in chess have like more game theory optimal moves. Their people's test scores improve.
Right.
Absenteeism at companies go down.
Wow.
Once again, it's thinking fuel.
Sure.
If you're sitting here thinking, what's fueling this process?
Yes.
How long can you fast without air? We live in air. We're not separate from air.
And maybe you're sitting there being like, I don't believe it or whatever, but I think it's cool to, just like anything else, you know, you want to try a new diet, a new lifestyle, you don't know how much better you can feel or do or perform unless you try it and you go for it. And then if you eliminate it and then you realize, oh, wow, without it, I know what I'm missing. So it's really cool to just be a part of, such a high quality air in ways.
Like it's a felt experience.
Yeah.
Once I travel with mine sometimes, and it's not an easy thing to do.
No, have you seen this thing?
It's not easy.
No, it's like this. I mean, it's amazing. It's beautiful. It's one of the best.
It's not travel size.
Looking, but it's not travel size. It's hilarious. All right, let's get to another question here.
And then the kitchen, because you asked about the rooms,
yes.
and the kitchen living space is a big deal because the #1 cause of pollution in a home is cooking.
Okay, and you know that my audience loves to cook, right? So here, really quickly, because we're live, sometimes people start to tune in, so I just want to let them know that we are here with Mike, and he is the founder of Jaspr Air Purifier, and he is a wildfire expert, so I'm just like geeking out with him on all things air and air quality and just how we can like help with the quality of air in our homes, right? Because we spend a good amount of time in our homes, more so than outdoors, unfortunately. But like he had mentioned too, we can control that environment and make it healthier for us, for our family, for our kids, for everybody. So we're also taking questions from you guys too. So please ask your questions about air purifiers because, searching through those or shopping through those, there's so many questions that it's like, well, which one's the best? And does it really matter if it's bigger or does it really matter if it's more expensive or what? So
the cooking is the big one.
Great.
Because we cook indoors primarily.
Right.
And this is a new thing for humans. Indoors is a new thing for humans.
Yeah.
Until very recently, it was a roof over your head to keep the rain out, maybe some walls to keep the predators out, and the wind, and stash your stuff and sleep comfortably.
Little tent.
Yeah. Little roof. And then since the 70s specifically, we started building really energy efficient homes. And energy efficiency is completely at odds with environmental health. So we're building these really tight homes to keep the cool in the summer and the warm air in the winter. Unfortunately, we keep everything in. So we're trapping ourselves in these little boxes. And what happens then is with cooking, we cook inside. So when you have high heat and protein, or really just you aerosolize anything, PAH is the big one, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. This is the same thing we would detox from a home after wildfire smoke.
Oh, wow.
It's the same thing that gets created when you cook.
Right.
You're burning stuff, you're cooking stuff, and it's like literally organic asparagus or grass-fed, grass-finished beef on a cast iron pan with avocado oil will still really spike your air. And
do you know if there's like a difference between like specific oils?
There is.
If avocado oil versus olive oil.
Well, the lower the smoke point, the more aerosolized the oil gets. And different foods matter.
Right. And so obviously you guys know on my Instagram account too, it's just the high quality of the oils. I mean, if you have a high polyphenol olive oil, that's better than pretty much all the other all the other oils, but cooking with animal fats does definitely have a way higher smoke point. Specifically tallow, right? So so the cooking, so the oils and things like that, you're cooking in cast iron, whether it's asparagus or beef, which is typically
you saw yesterday we had stainless steel pan, and super high quality Wagyu bacon.
Yes.
Yeah, Wagyu beef bacon. That's a thing. Wow.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I'm excited about it.
Thank you. But he also, you wiped him out.
Well, they're closing in a couple weeks, so we got the rest of their beef bacon. And even just cooking that there, you saw Jaspr went crazy 60 feet away.
Right, exactly.
So like just because it's a delicious thing to eat doesn't mean and range hoods don't work very good.
Right.
So it doesn't mean all that smoke is now getting captured. This part of the smoke you see, most of it we can't see. We can't really see air.
Right.
But you can smell things that you don't see all the time.
Right.
So that's getting embedded in the carpets, the clothing, the furniture, the insulation, all of it. So those are a few of the big ones.
Great. What other questions do we have?
This one will be quick. Best thing to help with your skin.
Oh, I love this one.
I'm not I don't know a ton about skin.
Okay.
What I do know has air quality pertains to skin.
Yes.
Poor air can increase aging rapidly and wrinkles because of oxidative stress. And all of those particles go in our skin pores.
Right.
So the same way that bad water might not be great for your skin.
Right.
Dry water, bad water, dry air. Poor air can increase wrinkles and aging and all of that as well.
Yeah, because we're still consuming it. I mean, it lands on our skin, and we're porous humans. That's what happens. And I mean, of course, as it relates to skin, though, too, it's obviously like get your diet in check. Healthy diet definitely means healthy skin, and that goes from everything from your food consumption to your water consumption. And now, honestly,
your
I think
skincare.
air it's a part of the primal element and primal diet in ways, right? Because we're not outdoors all the time, but if we can kind of create that purification that trees did, you know, from way back in the day.
That's why the logo is literally a tree, because the world's best air purifier is trees.
Right.
But we left that shit outside.
Yeah.
And big trees, the big old ancient trees are thousands of times better at cleaning the air than these small young trees. And indoor plants are good for like feng shui and vibes.
Right.
But I've tested the air a million times.
Right.
Plants don't do anything for your air. They're just too small.
Right, which is another kind of myth, if you will, as well, too, because there's actually like a whole, I don't know if it's like a marketing campaign around air purifying plants in the home, right? And wasn't that maybe a NASA study?
There was a NASA study. Yeah, NASA plant study.
So real quick, we're live.
We're live.
This is Mike from Jaspr. He is the founder of Jaspr, and this is air purification, super high quality, a sexy machine too, if you will. It's amazing. And we're talking all things air quality because he's a wildfire expert. And I'm going to pick his brain, and you're here with me to pick his brain. So ask your questions about anything from air purification to just, you know, quality of air, what you can do at home, tips and things like that to help with the
Dwayne asked about the price.
Yep.
So what's something that people could comment, and if they do, then you could send them. We'll hook you up with a little special code or something later.
Oh, great! Yeah.
So if he give them something to comment, and then anyone who comments, you can send them a DM after.
Okay, that's right. I do have a code. I think it's Bay 10, maybe.
Well, let's just call it Jaspr Special.
Okay.
Anyone who sends you comments on this with Jaspr Special,
okay,
you can just DM them a special code, and maybe we'll do an extra special code just for this week, just to honor this Instagram Live and the podcast we're recording. And by the way, like you said, for those who are joining us, we're actually recording a podcast right now.
Yes.
And mid-podcast, we're like, let's just do a live.
Yes.
So this live will be part of the podcast. So
right.
Thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. What other questions we have? I interrupted you in something, but I can't remember where we were going.
We have too many things to say and not enough
know.
time, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, the air plants, the NASA study.
Plants.
Yes.
So many people have tried. Good job.
Yeah.
Bringing us back.
I know. I think it's the air. It really helps me recall.
So many people have tried to recreate that NASA study. And I feel bad because I was quoting it for a long time. I'm like, NASA, it doesn't get much more trustworthy than that.
Sure.
So whenever people would ask about plants, I'd be like, plants are great. Here's the study. Yeah. And then I dug deeper, and no one's ever been able to recreate that study.
Wow.
And I then started to just test, like the snake plant and a few others. So I put a bunch of them in a room with the CO2 detector.
So the study was essentially they were trying to purify the air in space, right? Correct. And so they brought plants, but how small was the area that they brought plants in the shuttle, I guess, to try to purify the air? Am I right on this?
I don't know exactly how they did the study.
Okay. So they did it in a very small space where it's like, okay, yeah, the quality of air is a little bit better, right? But then when you put it in your home and things like that, you can't apply that same
like if we're using like a plant and then the room was like the size of the plant, like we put it in a little tiny box, maybe you'd see some marginal difference.
Right.
But the volume of air in a room, there's new air coming in and old air going out too much that unfortunately we would need to fill our homes with trees.
Right.
And then the downside of that is plants want to be outside. Animals want to be outside. Kids want to be outside. I want to be outside.
I always wondered about that. I was like, why are you putting them in pots and put them inside?
At least put them by the window. These poor plants, they'd much prefer direct sunlight, just like we need. We can't get sunburns through the glass. So it's it's clearly not the full experience putting plants indoors.
Yeah.
Trapping these poor guys inside.
I know. I feel bad. They do add a nice little pop of color. And
I do. I like it too. I think these plants are fake here. Yeah, they definitely are.
They're
probably off-gassing.
I know, yeah.
What else do we got?
All right, let's check it out.
Cheap particle counter.
What is this?
Can the machine remove, let's say, in which you can monitor for your room? So, I personally, cheap particle counters, I haven't found a good one. I've seen one called Temtop on Amazon that I'm not sure how good it is. There are, however, air quality monitors they're not nearly as accurate, but they are directionally relevant. So, Awair, AWAIR, is a brand that I use to measure my air at home, and I have a few in different rooms. They're okay. So, you'll see it go crazy when you cook. You'll see it go crazy from wildfire smoke. The sensor's about as accurate as the one on the Jaspr, almost identical. So it's good for that. It won't give you numbers into the hundreds of thousands. It's not using a laser and a fan like this thing. But Awair is pretty good they're my favorite, I would say, for particle counters. They measure VOCs as well. But I wouldn't actually say you need like 5 or 6. You could just buy one and like monitor your air for like 4 or 5 days, or ideally a week in a room. And you'll learn a lot about the carbon dioxide in your bedroom at night, or when people come over, or if you're cooking, how much is the air quality? Like if someone, and I've seen in a 4,000 square foot house and someone's cooking and baby's bedroom upstairs in the nursery, Jasper's going crazy. Even a cat litter, 4,000 square foot house, kitty's using that cat litter. The entire home within seconds is contaminated because your HVAC system is designed to mix and distribute air throughout the whole home. So as soon as you mix up the cat litter, if you ever look at what's in cat litter, it's not pretty.
I don't.
And then that all aerosolizes. That's why you smell it.
Yes.
A lot of people, I've seen some huge wins where people were going to get rid of cats because they thought they were allergic to their cat. They weren't at all allergic to their cat. They were allergic to the cat litter.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Yeah, that's super interesting. That's, what a cool thing. And that's kind of what I talk about a lot about, I'm allergic to eggs or dairy. I'm like, is it really the dairy or the eggs, or is it the actual process of how they're produced or the quality of it, right?
Yeah.
So that's
it's easy to make like a blanket diagnosis sometimes.
Right. So then it's just like, oh, it's the cat. And it's like, it may not be. Like, look deeper, right? So that's super interesting. For those of you that just joined us, I'm with Mike. He's the founder of Jaspr Air Purifier, which is amazing. And so one of the questions actually is, how much space does this unit cover? So let's talk about specifically about
Hairstyles
Jaspr.
by Doreen. Great question. Thanks for asking it. And this is the kind of question that only can be answered like this, in like a nuanced way.
Sure.
Because everybody wants to answer difficult questions through the lens of Amazon filters. So a lot of companies for market research, they go and see what are the Amazon boxes. It's like square footage, price, right? Like you want a TV. TVs make sense. It's like 40 to 49 inches, 50 to 59.
Sure.
This makes sense. With air, you can't think about it in terms of square feet. A few reasons why. Number one, do you have 7-foot ceilings or 12-foot ceilings? Because that's almost twice the volume of the room.
So what do you mean we got to ask more questions about?
What's that?
I said we got to ask more questions, not just black and white.
It's not just black and white.
Right.
Do you have an HVAC system that is running, or do you have baseboards and split ductless heat pumps? Because if you have an HVAC system running, it circulates the air more. And like when you see a company's like, this air purifier is good for 800 square feet or 1,500 square feet, it's like they tell you that the filter captures 99.997%. That's per pass. So theoretically, we could have an air purifier the size of this water bottle that is 99.9999.
Sure.
But because of the size, it's only good for like a room this big.
Right.
This obviously can't filter your house. So when you hear that like square footage number, the real question you ask is, how much are you cleaning the air at that square foot? And when almost every company says the square footage, that's as if the air purifier is on full speed. I want to change the whole conversation, because 99% of the time your air purifier is at the lowest speed, not full speed. So it's like, what I want to know is, how much cubic volume can your air purifier clean in a house with, fan speed 1? That's like the more nuanced question. And it's not that hard to calculate, actually, because
well, maybe for someone like us.
Or
me.
ChatGPT can help.
Yeah.
It's the way you calculate cubic volume of a room is length times width times height. So what's the square footage? You multiply that by the ceiling height. Then if you can find the CFM of the machine, most people won't tell you their fan speed 1 speed. So Jaspr, for example, our top-notch speed is 430 CFM.
And that's a turbo.
That's turbo. We're actually changing the name of the button to Deep Clean. Because that's really what it is.
Sure, yeah.
Fan speed 1 is 120 CFM. If you see like a little Walmart air purifier, often, and that's silent at fan speed 1, often for them, full speed where it's really loud is only 80 or 90 CFM. Fan speed 1 is like 20 or 30. So it's really not doing much.
Right.
So it's a little bit more nuanced, but the best situation is having an air purifier in where you sleep and where you cook. Where you spend the most time, your bedroom, and where you pollute the most in your house, aka where you cook.
Great. Awesome. Let's take another question. We are with Mike from Jaspr. He's the founder of Jaspr. Talking all things air quality, air purification. We give you tips of what you can do now to eliminate just some of the sources that are causing your air quality to be trash, really. And then also just talking about air purifiers and sort of the steps.
And
that
even
you
like
can
the
take
free
to,
stuff, like the tips and tricks that people
Right.
can do, you know, cracking
Totally.
the windows, making sure your bathroom fans are working, making sure your range
Right.
hoods are moving.
And like sometimes this could be when you're sort of consuming information as it relates to health, as it relates to biohacking and whatnot, it can be really overwhelming. And so this is really just to have the conversation, to get you kind of noodling over it and, you know, your brain working a bit, just to see, one, again, what you can eliminate and do just on your own without having to biohack or purchase or do any of those things, right? And so this is just to have a conversation to talk about air. And I think that because we consume it, it's one of the most consumed elements. Did I say that right? Yeah.
Well, a really good, simple way of thinking about it is you drink 2 to 3 liters of water per day.
Okay.
If you're a great water drinker.
Okay.
You eat 2 to 3 pounds of food per day.
Okay.
But you breathe between 11 and 20,000 liters of air per day.
Okay.
You can survive 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air.
Right.
So the first thing you do when you're born, first breath. The last thing you do before you die,
Right.
last breath.
Right.
The only thing you do to keep you alive all night long when you're sleeping is breathe.
Wow.
So I believe that's why humans have lost our sense of our air awareness, because it's the only thing that we can do subconsciously and consciously.
Sure.
So it's so vital to our existence
Right.
that we literally can do it in our sleep.
Right.
We can do it in a coma.
Right.
And
sleep and when you're sleeping too is just the most important time for restoration and recovery and just all the things that really and resiliency even. So for me, it's just really interesting to start learning a little bit more about air and less about, the other consumptions of food and water and things like that, but air, because it is the most consumed element, right, of our existence, as he just described too as
more
well.
Than 1,000x.
More than 1,000x. And so I think that this can accumulate, right? And so it's like the more that you can do to make adjustments to your life, to the little tweaks that you could do at home, and that wouldn't cost you anything really, the more that helps with your overall just sort of net of toxins that you are absorbing. So this isn't for you to freak out and check the air quality all the time and then just buy a $5,000 device and look all that. It's not required. Just starting to be mindful and intentional, then it all accumulates over time. And then
you have a really educated audience and listeners. So when you grow up, you probably were just drinking water. You didn't even really think about tap water. You'd go to the restaurant, you'd go to the sink, you just drink water. Then along came filtered water in the past 10, 15 years.
Right.
And now that you drink super clean filtered water, tap water tastes nasty. You can taste the chlorine. So you now know you've trained the sensors in your mouth to detect poor water.
Right.
Like if you go to someone's house and they pour you a glass of tap water and you sip, you're like, nah, I'm good.
Right.
I'm going to get some filtered water later.
Yeah.
I now have come to that same place of awareness with air where I can smell and feel and taste polluted air, high carbon dioxide, stale air.
Right.
And now it's not like I'm freaking out, but I almost only eat outside at restaurants.
Yeah.
Restaurants are nearly unbearable for me.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they
I
often
didn't even think of that.
Especially if I have the noise pollution, bright lights, and all the cooking fumes, I'm like, I'm good.
Oh, wow.
Some restaurants are really great, and I'll go into a restaurant, I'm like, wow, because most restaurants, they're not factoring.
Have you ever brought a Jaspr into a restaurant?
I haven't, and it's not the right tool for the job. They need better ventilation in the kitchen.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And
Sorry, we're
so
going to
Primal Body, let's go back to a question, mix it up a bit. So what differentiates this company, Jaspr, for example, an Air Doctor? Obviously, you cannot comment on Air Doctor, but what really makes your company stand out? So to answer what's the difference between Jaspr and Air Doctor is basically to answer what's the difference between Jaspr and all cheap residential style air purifiers.
Okay.
So big things. Actually, I have a Jaspr
Let's bring
here.
it. Yeah. Look at this thing. This is the best. I walked into a friend's house. Actually, he's known as Animal Bates on
Chris.
online. Chris, yeah, that's right. And I walked into his house, and I was just like, what is this machine? Because it was just cool and beautiful. And he said it was an air purifier. I was like, wow, that is the best looking.
All right, so
purifier
it's unplugged right now.
Okay.
So it's off. There's no power right here. So I'm not going to give you a demo or show you how it works. But the big things are it's metal. cold rolled steel, no plastic. So
that's a check for me. Great.
That was a big deal. So the lifespan should be about 30 years.
Okay.
We built them, instead of buying a cheap little plastic machine with a 1-year warranty, this is a steel machine with all commercial grade components that should last 30 years, which is why we're comfortable having a lifetime warranty.
Right.
And our warranty is badass. I'm very excited about our warranty.
Yes.
So let's say your Jaspr breaks. We ship you a brand new one in the box. You take the brand new one out of the box. You put the old one back in the box. We give you a prepaid shipping label for UPS, and we schedule UPS to pick it up at 9 a.m. the next day.
Okay.
So if it breaks, that's a us problem.
Right.
It's ridiculous to me that warranties last 1 year when the product's supposed to last decades. That's not fair.
No,
that's not putting your money where your mouth is.
No. And I love the confidence from it too. It's just like,
if it breaks, we got to fix it.
Yeah, and you also want somebody to enjoy like this quality air, and it's like you believe in your product.
Someone's paying you a lot of money to solve their air problem, and if your warranty's a year, this is not cool.
Take it from the wildfire expert. This is Mike from Jaspr.
Hey guys.
That's what we're showing you now.
So we're answering the question about what's the difference between Jaspr. Thank you, Tenderfoot. Much appreciate you.
Mike, you are a G.
We love you too. So it's metal, not plastic. The lifetime warranty is a big deal, but also just the size. So obviously it's on the table, so it looks bigger than it is. If I put it on the floor, it's not that huge.
I'm 5'3", maybe 5'4" on that. On a good day.
Is today a good day?
Yeah, today's a great day.
So if this was plugged in, you'd see that this light is green and the air quality would be on the top. So not only is it telling you like good or bad, but it actually is showing you the air quality in real time with the number. It's off right now. The other thing is it has 360 degrees intake. So what that means is you can put it in the corner. You can put it against the wall. They asked about Air Doctor. So when you only can collect air on two sides, Air Doctor tells you have to keep it from about a foot away from the wall.
Oh.
So next thing you know, it's like in the middle of the living room.
Oh, interesting.
And because it only has two sides, it has a good chance of not, with the way airflow patterns work, of not necessarily capturing the air. So the airflow design is designed so the most polluted particles fall to the floor, get captured, go back up into the breathing zone.
This is why I really love Mike, from the founder of Jaspr, because he just thinks of it all. And this is really, honestly, like some of the people that I collaborate and work with and the partners too. It's like because you are so intentional about your product and what you do, and you really think of it all. And the other thing too is EMFs. Like you thought about that too. Very easy to do, right? And then what about the EMF situation too, right?
So no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no EMF, no apps.
Right.
We actually developed an app and decided we just felt weird about not putting that out there because like there's apps for dishwashers these days.
Right.
The last thing I need is another app in my life to control my air purifier.
Right.
I think someone was telling me the other day that they have a Dyson and they lost the remote. And you can only control the air purifier on the remote. So it's permanently stuck on fan speed 3.
Oh, no.
And then even those, but like, yeah, so if we had Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, we would just like, so okay, we're cleaning your air, and then we're just not necessary. We wanted the product to be simple, and as a company, we want to focus on cleaning the air, silent, minimalistically, in an aesthetic pleasing way, no bells and whistles. We've played with putting a speaker on board and putting lights inside, and we're like, no gimmicks, no tricks, no UV lights.
Well, also producing a really high quality purifier too, as well.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we got to do. Talk, educate.
Yeah.
And for those 1% of you out there, 2% of you who today is air purifier buying day, great. For anybody else, crack your doors, use your range hood, turn on your bathroom fans, stop putting your shoes inside.
Right.
Look at the chemicals that you're using in your house to clean.
There's so many tips from cleaning chemicals, from your scents, from all the things that diffusers, from like hair products and hairspray and shampoos and conditioners and all these things that you could remove. And so if you guys are watching right now, this is Mike from Jaspr. He's the owner of or founder of Jaspr, a really high quality air purifier that we have beautifully right here. But if you guys watching right now, please ask questions as it relates to air purifiers.
And forget air purifiers. Anything to do with air, period.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Doesn't have to have anything to do.
Expert, so he just like knows all things
mold,
about air.
Floods,
mold.
fire,
That's
detoxing
amazing.
your home.
So
doesn't
ask
have
those.
to have anything to do with this.
Also, this podcast, we're filming a live podcast right now too, which will come out next week.
Don't forget that,
just
Mike.
Yeah, well, which will come out next week, by the way. So just we'll keep you posted on when that comes out. And I think we're going to have a giveaway for that podcast, too. So make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell on my YouTube channel so that you can get notified when that drops. And you can enter into the giveaway. But we're taking questions from the audience right now, too, as well, because we are Instagram Live. And just all things about air. So
Furnace
let's
filter.
take another one.
Here.
What is it?
You can read it out.
Okay, cool.
By Mel.
How often, by Mel Designs, how often should we change furnace filters in our home? And what's the best furnace filter to use?
So, this depends.
Okay.
The blanket statement would probably say every 3 to 6 months. But I actually use the most minimalistic furnace filters in my house. I use a MERV 8. A lot of people are saying use a MERV 12 or a MERV 13 or higher. I don't, because your furnace was designed to heat and cool your air. That's it. So when you add an overly restrictive filter to it, what happens is you choke the airflow and you create an unnecessary pressure drop. So now your air circulation's getting worse, your airflow's getting worse, your furnace is overworked.
Oh, wow.
Adding that, your furnace filter, look at the name, furnace filter, it's designed to keep your furnace safe,
Yes.
not you safe. The
See?
ones that come from the manufacturer are not super heavy furnaces,
Right.
filters. They're designed so the dust, the screw or a nail, the clump of dog fur doesn't like get in the motor and break your furnace.
Yeah.
That little filter is not an air cleaning machine. It's not going to clean mold or dust or
Right.
smoke. My furnace filters, I haven't changed mine in about a year. I check them every few months. That's because my furnace filters look brand new.
Why do you think that is?
I think that's because we're cleaning our air.
Okay, well, there you go.
So that's
right
my
there.
kind of complicated answer. But generally, if you don't have any air filtration at your home, and especially if you have pets, I would change mine every 3 months. And I personally wouldn't go over a MERV 10 because I would rather optimize for airflow and ventilation than like a slightly more tight furnace filter. I've measured air with very commercial grade air sensors a lot of times.
Right.
Furnace filters are not designed to filter the air in your home.
Okay. Next question. Will one machine do the entire home?
Will it?
Depends.
So it will if you have a if you have a tiny home, it will.
Yeah.
If you have a tiny home, no pets, and don't cook, it definitely will. Like for a studio apartment or a one-bedroom apartment or condo, it could be great. A townhouse, open concept situation, definitely can.
Great.
The best practice is one per bedroom that's being slept in every night, and one in the kitchen living room to handle cooking particulate.
Right.
And that's why we did our pricing the way it is. So like if somebody buys 2 or 3 or 4, the more they get, the cheaper it gets.
Okay.
And if we ever work with partners, like we're going to do a little special today. So if
Yes.
anyone just comments Jaspr Special, then Lindsay will DM you later with a special code. And
Right.
your code and our bundle offers combine. So they can get
Okay.
these things can get as cheap as like $5.99.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they can get
cool.
way down. These used to be $2,000 when we sold to doctors and dentists. We didn't even have e-commerce for the first 3 years.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to buy a Jaspr, they'd have to call us
Right.
or email us, and we would chat with them about their mold and their allergies and
Yeah.
consult with them. And we only even put this thing on the internet a year ago.
Oh, wow.
So that's why we were so rooted in education, because we literally talk to everybody. So hopefully that helps.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. One more question we'll take at least from the Instagram Live.
Next one's for you.
But you said to turn on your range. Oh, this one. The animal-based bay. Do you travel to the UK? And if so, okay, we're talking about air. Also interested, what diet does Mike follow? What are you interested?
What diet does Mike follow?
Yeah.
The no bread diet, for
The
sure.
no bread diet. Yeah.
Me and my daughter Aria have been on the journey together.
But I was over at his house the other day. He was cooking
Yesterday.
Wagyu beef. It
Wagyu
was
beef
yesterday,
bacon.
Right,
That was
yeah.
yesterday.
So he does eat some animal foods, but also
My diet is a very simple one.
Yeah.
It's don't eat after dinner.
okay.
It's like shocking how effective that is. Just like no
Yeah.
food after dinner.
Yeah.
I don't know about all these time restricted intermittent fasting. I'm sure they're all great.
Yeah.
But for me, just not eating after dinner lets me sleep so much better. Even if I was eating healthy food late, I wasn't sleeping too
Right.
good.
Yeah, because your digestion is still working. And
Yeah.
that kind of keeps you up. But
And then no.
but hopefully, since
no bread,
we've been
minimal
chatting,
gluten.
there's been some
Getting
maybe
better.
some adjustments. Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so, am I going to the UK? Possibly. Stay tuned. So, hairstyles by Doreen. You said to turn on your range hood, but also that they don't all work. How can you tell if it's
Well, this
working
is great.
properly?
And Doreen, you should definitely, by the way, hairstyles, hairsprays are a big deal. You should definitely check out our, this is a podcast that we're doing right now.
Yes.
And yesterday, Lindsay and I shot a bunch of videos at the Jaspr house. Right. And one of those videos was doing an experiment on how to test your range hood and your bathroom fans to see if they work. And the one yesterday in the video, sneak peek, it didn't work at all.
Yeah.
It was really loud and barely could pull a single tissue.
Yeah.
So if your bathroom fan is working good, it should suck that up right away the way it would suck up smoke.
And the hood over the stove that day, it looks like intense. Like
looks intense. It sounds loud.
Yeah.
It was actually blowing warm air.
Yeah, it was blowing out.
Yeah. And at your house, your range hood was just going above. It wasn't even venting outside.
No.
So luckily you're filtering your air.
Right.
Best is to vent it out, but if you're not venting it out, get those windows open, get your Jaspers on smart mode.
Yep.
So the best way to determine if a range hood's working is first, let's make sure the blower and the fan are working. So in order to do that, we need to just like test it with a Kleenex, with a paper towel. That's number one. But then typically a range hood should be like 24 to 36 inches above where you're cooking. Otherwise, it's just too high. So a really low-hanging fruit, also something we covered in the video, is if you can, when you're cooking or boiling things, use the back range hood. Or like, let's say you have an air fryer or a slow cooker. When you let it breathe and exhaust, either open windows, put it outside, put it on a balcony, or if you're doing it, put it at the back burner, range hood on full, because the front stove burners aren't that, the range hood like only captures a little bit of it. I'd say like the front burner, it captures like 30 or 40%, and the back burner is like 80% if it's working.
If it's working, right.
So that's like a big difference. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, test it with a tissue. When you're cooking something that actually is visibly smoky, you shouldn't be able to smell the bacon in the house.
Yeah.
That only means the bacon's everywhere. You shouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
That means the range hood is not doing its job at all. Of course you do.
Yeah. Well, luckily I got a good grill for outside though too, so I don't always cook at home. That's another actually tip too. It's like, you know, maybe don't cook in the home every meal if you can, if you're lucky enough to have the situation where you can cook outside, right? That would be another good tip.
We cook outside probably like 4 days a week. So I got this thing from Jetboil. Okay. It was originally for camping.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have this camping stove. We can like walk to like, there's like a great lake park near us, but since we got it, we often go to parks, hang out under a tree. Yeah. We bring our burgers there and we cook.
That would be a great idea.
We do it all the time.
Have them start picnicking more.
Yeah.
Like at least like go outside. So, okay, maybe your home, you know, it doesn't have the capability to have an outdoor grill, or you can't, you know, get a grill. Maybe grills are too expensive. Maybe you're in an apartment and you can't, like there's just, you know, no, they say that you can't absolutely not have a grill. So
go ahead and
buy a little, camping thing, or from Jetboil. I have one of those too, and just go on a picnic, and that would be like really cool and really intentional to just...
Also, like I have 2 young daughters. They're 2 and 4. So it's always they come home from school. It's already like 3:30, and then it's like, do we like go to the park for a rush for half an hour, frantically rush home for dinner and put them to bed? Or do we like frantically eat and then go to the park, and then all of a sudden 3 o'clock is 7, now 7 is 10, and where did a third of our life go?
Right.
So go to the park, kids play, we cook outside on a grill.
I love that.
And you saw the lake park by our house yesterday. Like everybody cooks dinner outside there. Even breakfast, we get the bacon, we get the eggs, we go to the lake on like Saturday morning. It's just
love that.
So we're not polluting our house.
Right.
The kids are playing, and then we just like, they like come and nibble away. We put the food out. Like, it's awesome. We cook like simpler meals. We're outside. The kids are playing. We're getting our vitamin D.
So
we're hanging in the sun.
doing multitasking I guess isn't a thing, but you kind of are multitasking. You're just like, you know, living life in ways multi-purpose. So we're going to end the Instagram live right now. Thank you guys for our questions, and stay tuned to your DM. Stay tuned to my stories too. We'll get you that
if anyone
code.
comments Jaspr Special, you can DM a secret offer that we haven't thought of, but it's going to be big.
And then also subscribe and hit the notification bell on my YouTube channel, because this podcast is also going to drop, and you're going to be entered into a chance to win a giveaway, and we'll tell you how to do that. So just make sure you subscribe.
And they'll see all your other awesome videos that you'll be making.
Yeah, all the other ones. Bye, guys. Thank you for joining us.
See y'all.